Thanks for joining me on episode 1130 of the Inspired Stewardship Podcast.
I'm Matthew Deibler. I challenge you to invest in yourself, invest in others, develop your influence, and impact the world by using your time, your talent, and your treasures to live out your calling. Having the ability to focus on the calling of God is key, and one way to be inspired to do that is to listen to this, the Inspired Stewardship Podcast with my friend, Scott Mader.
It's about being faithful stewards of all that you are given by God. Making that mental shift to that idea helps us be more content. It helps us recognize and hold on to things loosely. It helps us with all of these things because it helps us be faithful in the little things as well.
Welcome and thank you for joining us on the Inspired Stewardship Podcast. If you truly desire to become the person who God wants you to be, then you must learn to use your time, your talent, and your treasures for your true calling. In the Inspired Stewardship Podcast, you will learn to invest in yourself, invest in others, and develop your influence so that you can impact the world.
In today's episode about developing your influence through stewarding your treasures, I talk with you about handling money God's way. I talk about why this doesn't require you to believe in God at all, and I explain why this is a really powerful way to view your money.
As we talk about stewarding your treasures, wouldn't it be great if you could support this podcast and do it without costing yourself an extra dime? Turns out you can. All you have to do is use inspiredstewardship.com/Amazon when you're ready to make a purchase via Amazon, and a small commission will come back to support the show. If you enjoy the show when you're ready to buy from Amazon, just use inspiredstewardship.com/Amazon.
The truth is, when we learn to handle money God's way, we end up growing in our financial life. And by that, I don't necessarily mean that we have more money in our life. That may be true, it may not be true. But I mean that the way that we have a relationship with money changes into a more beneficial and healthy relationship with money. Yeah, I've studied a lot of people that have talked about stewardship and mindset and money management and all of these things, from Ron Blue to Dave Ramsey to many others that have put material out there for years and years. And the truth is, I've seen it in my own life. I've seen how generosity and giving and a focus on stewardship can really change your relationship with time and money. The fact is that recognizing that you are given certain blessings and you are blessed greatly by God, and yet it's not yours. You don't own it. You simply manage it, becomes a powerful mind. Many people, all the stats will tell you that Christians aren't giving in high amounts. They aren't tithing. They aren't giving to the church, but they also aren't giving to charity and to others at the levels that you would expect. Because the truth is, it's all about our mindset around money. And so many of us right now view money as something that is ours to hoard and to hold on to. It's not really about the money. It's not because God needs the money. It's about our heart. It's about our heart issue. And we don't talk about stewardship. We don't talk about giving. We don't talk about generosity. And people get into financial problems, and then they look at it and go, how can I give? Because I'm stuck. I have no money to give. And they feel guilty about that. And then they feel worried about that. They look at their alignment between what they feel like they should be doing with their money, what they're called to do with their money, and what they're actually doing. And it creates a conflict in their heart and their mind. And it drives them away instead of bringing them into the... There's a few things that you can do to really focus on handling money God's way, and they're all about perspective change. Number one, choose to be faithful in the little things. In other words, don't worry about, I'm going to do this when. Instead, just take your money seriously, whether you have a little or a lot. Look at it and decide that you're going to be intentional with your money. You are going to worry about both the little and the big things, because if you're faithful with the small things, then bigger things come along. As part of that, you have to learn the value of contentment. You have to learn the value of recognizing that you are already blessed. Whether you're rich, whether you're poor, it doesn't matter. You're still blessed. That you can look at what you live in, and instead of looking at it and looking at your neighbor or looking at the person down the street and saying, why do they have more than me, and having envy, you can look at where you are and be content. Contentment is a choice that we have to make. Third, you need to learn to hold what you have loosely. This means money, but it also means other things as well. You need to recognize that the luxuries that you may have are not really what is important. Looking at the blessings you have and recognizing that with them or without them, you need to be content in both cases. You need to worry about this isn't about YOLO. This isn't about you only live once and just be flippant and not have consideration or wisdom with what you're doing. But it's recognizing that at the end of the day, it's yours to steward, it's yours to take care of, but it's not yours to own, and it may move on from you at some point, and that's okay. And then lastly, you have to learn to recognize that it's not about the 10%. It's not about the tithe. It's not about the little bit. It's about 100%. It's about all of it. It's about being faithful stewards of all that you are given by God. Making that mental shift to that idea helps us be more content. It helps us recognize and hold on to things loosely. It helps us with all of these things because it helps us be faithful in the little things as well. Now, here's the thing. If I was talking about all of this and you're like, but I don't really believe in God, it doesn't really matter. Because at the end of the day, handling your money with this sort of mindset is powerful, even if you don't believe in God. If you believe in some other higher power, or you don't believe that there's any power at all out there, it's still recognizing that feeling of contentment, that feeling of delayed gratification, that feeling of generosity actually helps you anyway have the right mindset around your money, where you will actually grow yourself and your money together. It's a powerful way to view it because it works whether you believe or don't. It works because it works, and it's worked that way for thousands of years. Thanks for listening.
Thanks so much for listening to the Inspired Stewardship podcast. As a subscriber and listener, we challenge you to not just sit back and passively listen, but act on what you've heard and find a way to live your calling. If you like this episode on the stewardship of treasures, you can sign up for our treasures tips by going to inspiredstewardship.com/treasures or text in the U.S. 44222 treasures tips. And we'll send you 5 weeks of our best tips on stewarding your treasures. Until next time, invest your time, your talent, and your treasures. Develop your influence and impact the world.